Hey guys, I'm going to start problem 2 of the protein sequence problems, which is a little bit more complicated than the first. So we have an amino acid sequence that contains a lysine and an aspartate, so I'm going to write these over here so you can keep track. Alright, and then treatment of this with Edmonds reagent yields leucine and phenylalanine. An Edmonds reagent is an N-terminal identifier, so we have two N-terminals, which means we have two peptides that make up this protein. So I'm going to start by drawing our two N-terminals, and I'm going to write leucine and phenylalanine up here so we can keep track that it's going to go in one of these boxes. We don't know which yet. Alright, and now treatment with performic acid yields a penta and a tripeptide. Now performic acid is going to cleave the cysteine bonds, or the disulfide bonds, so we know that there must be a cysteine in both of these amino acids, so we're going to write to the side that we have two cysteines somewhere. Alright, now treatment of the pentapeptide. Oh yeah, we also know that there's a pentapeptide and a tripeptide from that last clue, so we can write our boxes. Alright, so treatment of the pentapeptide with cyanogen bromide yields a di and a tripeptide. Cyanogen bromide is a methionine cleaver, and it cleaves at the C-terminal. So we can either have, to get a di and a tripeptide out of this protein, we can either have a methionine be here, and this would be the dipeptide, this would be the tripeptide. It could also cleave here. Or this would be the tripeptide, and this would be the dipeptide. Alright, treatment of the pentapeptide with hydrazine yields cysteine. And hydrazine is the C-terminal identifier, so we know that the cysteine must go on this C-terminal of the pentapeptide. And then treatment of pentapeptide with the S-protease yields a tetra and a monopeptide. S-protease cleaves arginine at the C-terminal, so to get a tetra and a monopeptide out of this, we would either have to cleave here with the arginine to get the mono and the tetra, or we could cleave here and this would be the mono and this would be the tetra. Now we know that the N-terminal on this protein must be leucine or phenylalanine, so arginine can't go here. So that leaves this to be the only spot for the arginine to go. Alright, so we have treatment of the pentapeptide with asp and protease yields a di and a tripeptide. Asp and protease cleaves at glutamine or aspartate at the N-terminal, and we have one aspartate. So to get a di and a tripeptide on this, we either would have to cleave here, or we would have to cleave here. We can't cleave here because of the arginine. And if we cleaved here, this would be the di, this would be the tri. Or if we cleaved here, this would be the di, this would be the tri. And this is the only spot for it since we already have arginine here. So we can fill in the aspartate here. Alright, so now we know that the methionine must go here. Okay, so treatment of the original tripeptide with endoproteinase lysine C has no effect. And we know that our protein contains a lysine, so for the only place in this where it would have no effect is on the end here, because it's going to cleave at the C-terminal, and there's nothing past the C-terminal on this protein. And we also know that this leucine or phenylalanine goes that this first amino acid in this tripeptide must be leucine or phenylalanine. And we know we have to have a cysteine bond in here, so that leaves this to be the only place for the cysteine. And now for the last clue, it says treatment of the original tripeptide with chymotrypsin yields a mono and a dipeptide. And chymotrypsin cleaves at phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan on the C terminal. Now, we know that a phenylalanine has to go either here or here. So, and chymotrypsin does not cleave leucine. So the phenylalanine must go here. And then that would cleave this protein into a mono and a dipeptide, like the clue says. So we only have one more protein, or one more amino acid, which is the leucine, which has to go here because it's the only spot left. And then you can check your work by going through all the clues and making sure that they match up.